Last time, on the program, Sloane spends more of her time with bad boy James. Getting out of school is super easy, barely an inconvenience. And Sloane gets that one memory back after all, the memory of the photo. Otherwise, not really that much happened. Hello and welcome to Julian's Couch of Madness. Nigel is here, and we're going to read some more of the program. Ooh, we're so close. We're so close to the end. Nothing is going to be answered. It's going to be 100% a cliffhanger. I know it. You know it. This world is never going to make any sense. We're never going to find out why James and her relationship is so friggin' important to the program, and why James is so important. None of this is ever going to make sense, but let's keep reading anyway. So she takes the picture that she just found, and she goes to class, where conveniently the teacher is not there yet, and she marches up to James and she smacks the picture down on the desk. Look at this photograph! And she's like, how do you know my brother? And he's like, I don't. And she's like grilling him. Has she forgotten that they both went through a program that wipes your memory? Girl, you don't even remember how your brother died. You don't remember taking this picture. Why are you so mad that he doesn't remember? And now she's like, the reason that James is hanging out with me is because he knows something about my brother. And I'm like, what? Did they wipe your memory of the fact that you went through the program and he is in the special school with you, so clearly he went through the program as well? I don't even know what to do with her at this point. I have to go get my laundry out of the washing machine. She's just gonna have to sit there and think about how ridiculous she's being. Alright, I'm back. My laundry has been moved along. Oh, she's back to not eating her food. It is unclear whether Lacey is eating fruit or cupcakes today. I'm surprised that no one goes through her phone with like how surveilled she is. I mean, she's got a fucking guy following her around every day, but she's able to text James without getting in trouble. They're going to meet in the basement storage room.
This is the most cliched hiding place you could have chosen. This is the stupidest hiding place.
Take us to the Bahamas of hiding places.
Listen.
I also kind of don't know why the author bothered to give her this like handler who's always around if she can so easily slip away from him. But now she's down in the storage room talking with old Jamesy boy. James's instincts are strong. He's like, I don't know your brother, who is he? And she's like, he's dead, and she starts to cry, and then he does the thing that he's famous for, gives her a cuddle. We are back, friends. They have a talk, they have a sad, they have a cuddle. Status quo has been restored, and there's much rejoicing.
And there was much rejoicing.
James is like, you can't go back up when you're crying, and she's like, I'm not going back up, I want to leave. And of course James is like, oh, don't worry, I'm a professional at skipping school. So we are just going right back again to the status quo of these characters can leave whenever they need to, no one ever asks after them. James is like, yeah, I'm supposed to be at therapy right now, but like nobody checks on these kids. He wants her to make him a sandwich? What is this? So she's like, hey, do you want to come over to my house and look through Brady's stuff? Maybe that'll help you remember. And he says, will you make me a sandwich?
Woman, get back in here and make me a sandwich.
She brings him home. They easily evade the school. Like, all he has to do is make one fake phone call, and wham, bam, they're out. And then they go to Brady's room, and it's very, very glossed over. That he's just like, we look at Brady's room, and we don't recognize anything, so we leave. But then he wants to go into her room. It is interesting, like, the program takes away all of her things, but she has a sibling. And anybody who has a sibling knows that a lot of times your stuff mixes together. So it's kind of surprising that there wasn't anything in Brady's room that would help her, like, remember or freak her out or anything like that. Okay, they have looked through Brady's room, they hung out in her room for a bit, and now guess what they're doing? Can you guess? Having a cuddle. Look how easy it is for this couple to like find each other and come back together. I don't know why everyone was catastrophizing at the beginning that like if your friend's memory is wiped, they're gone forever and you can never befriend them again. It's like if they don't remember you, there's no chance that you could ever be friends. Even though there's probably a reason that you became friends in the first place. You're compatible people.
Do you remember me at all?
Well, no. But don't take it personally. I don't remember what I don't remember.
You know what this means, right? We get to become best friends all over again!
But then she's like, I think we've done this before, and he freaks out and leaves. The next chapter is kind of long, but we're gonna power through because I'm trying to get to the end of this book. I have other things I need to, like, be reading. I am curious why they won't tell her that her brother committed suicide. It would be even more helpful to be like, yeah, your brother committed suicide because we couldn't get him help in time, but we got you help in time. So, and then that would make her possibly even more determined never to, like, do that. At the 2-week mark of her recovery, it seems like it's been longer, but it's only been 2 weeks, Kevin is like, hey, I'm being reassigned, I don't know why. Maybe you don't need a handler anymore, maybe you're gonna get a new one. But anyway, here is the contact info for Realm. That is the most important thing. Explaining the world, explaining any of this, making it make sense, not important. Love triangle. She meets up with James again, and initially she's like, I'm mad at you, but that fades really quickly. And she's like, I know who might have some answers. I know this guy named Realm, and he knows all about the program. It's unclear how they get away from her parents that evening to go to Realm's house, but that doesn't matter. They get away.
Welcome to Whose Line Is It Anyway, the show where everything's made up and the points don't matter.
So Realm's house, or at least the address that they're given, is like this suspicious little like cabin out in the middle of nowhere, which definitely seems like a place where people go to get murdered. But Realm is there. I thought maybe he wouldn't be and it was going to be a trap, but he's there and he gives Sloane a big old hug. And he calls her Sweetness again, which you know how I feel about that.
Don't like that.
Realm clearly knows James because as soon as James introduces himself, Realm just like goes pale, but he doesn't say anything. He knows that James is somehow the linchpin in destroying their whole evil brainwashing corporation. Do you think it's going to be something stupid like their DNA or something like it was in the Divergent series where it's like some dumb thing about imperfect DNA? He seems to be living alone in this cabin, so he's definitely aged out of the program, I think. I don't know how old anyone is, and neither does the author. That's something that we touched about a little bit at the beginning, but the author did the math very poorly, and so Sloane should have been 14 when she was actually supposed to be 17, just like James, who should have been 18. And no editor caught it, which everyone wants to give such a hard time to self-published authors, and sometimes we earn it. But then you look at something like this, and you cannot shade us completely when nobody noticed. I mean, this was probably gone through by multiple editors, and nobody noticed the incorrect math.
It's not stupid, it's advanced.
As well as several other glaring plot holes, but Realm goes immediately like one of those guys who is like not really dating a girl but wants to be and gets very possessive of her. So she sits down on the couch and he sits down next to her and like wraps his arms around her.
Settle for me, baby cakes, just settle for me.
So she shows Realm the picture and she's like, how did I remember where to find this? And Realm was like, okay, fine. You remember Roger, the purple pill, it was real. Realm throws out a cryptic, some mistakes are destined to repeat themselves, which I think is just in reference to her and James getting together. But now I'm going, whoa, what if the main character has been through the program like multiple times before and she doesn't know it? Probably not, but that would be a twist.
Get used to disappointment. Okay.
Realm says, to help you move on, he says softly, his eyes weak. His eyes weak? Is he like suddenly squinting like he can't see her, like he needs glasses? That's what weak eyes usually means. What the heck? Now the boys are getting all prickly and bristly and threatening to fight over her, which is, of course, having all of the teenage readers a-swoonin'. But she's like, no boys, don't fight, I don't want any fighting. Realm reveals that Brady was not killed in a boating accident, but instead killed himself, and both of them were there when it happened. Not sure why Realm knows that, except for, like, he studied up on her. And I'm not sure why he's telling her either. Like, he could make up anything.
The police said it was an accident. He'd come home late one night and fell down an elevator shaft onto some bullets.
And now she realizes that her parents have lied, which is probably going to send her spiraling into, like, the rebellion that she's going to need to take on the program.
Get used to disappointment.
So while our main character is still trying to get answers, the boys are doing this, like, silent, possessive game of her. One of them will touch her hair, the other one will grab her hand, and it's just disgusting. It's disgusting. She and Realm do a whole Han Solo thing. She makes James leave so she can talk to Realm, and he says, I love you, he whispers, not able to look at me. I know. These two have not earned the Han Solo, I love you, I know. Then they start making out. She breaks off the makeout sesh and just turns it into a hug, and then she leaves, and Realm bolts the door behind her. And that's the end of that. Sloane is very upset. The boys are fighting possessively over her like she's an object, and we are going to come back next time for more of that, probably. But hey, we're still making good progress through this book. If I stopped reading today, I don't think I would at all wonder, like, what happened next in this book. I don't think even this book knows what's happening in this book. Like, for real, what is the plot? Is there a plot, or are we just watching a girl just, like, go about her fucking life, and also she happened to get her memory wiped? So if you recall, she was just smooching with Realm, but she stopped the kiss, and now she's driving home with James, and I guess James saw it, and he's, like, shading her for her kiss, and like, sir, that is her choice. You two are not dating. She can do whatever she wants with her tongue. So James is like, no, I just think he's bad news. I think he's hiding something. And he says, I thought you were smarter than that. And I'm like, no. This girl couldn't think her way out of a paper bag. If we are counting on her to save the world is going unsaved. It's also kind of surprising that, like, this has never happened before. At least I assume it's never happened before. Like, I feel like we're meant to believe that our two main characters are the first people to ever puzzle together their memories, figure out what the gaps are. But I mean, you'd think that that would have happened a lot, because honestly, unless you keep that person away from everyone they ever knew and every place they've ever been, how are you going to keep them from figuring out their life?
Well, you got me. By all accounts, it doesn't make sense.
Like, you have to, after you finish the program, send these kids to Alaska or something, like somewhere they've never ever been, and start a completely different life. So they have a little cuddle, they talk a bit about her brother, a little bit about the program, where apparently James was in isolation the whole time, because I guess he must be so dangerous, you know, they gotta keep him locked up. But then they have an argument, again, about who she kisses, and they go on their way. She gets home and she's like, I hope my parents haven't noticed that I've just, like, been gone. And I'm sure they won't. She goes home, she goes into her brother's room, her dad joins her, and her dad is the weakest link because she asks, did Brady kill himself? And her dad immediately crumbles and is like, yes, he did. So now that she's been through the program, she's totally allowed to cry in front of her parents, because she starts crying in front of her dad, and he doesn't immediately call the men in their white coats to take her away. So sadness is allowed, but only after you've had your memory wiped. Any sadness before you've had your memory wiped, you get shipped away. I can't believe the astounding world building that's on display here. Hey, here we go. One of the things we talked about in this read-along is characterization through a character's surroundings. So she's going to go hang out with Lacey. Lacey pulls up in a neon green bug, and there are fast food wrappers on the floor, and all the drink holders are full. That's a really great visual that tells you a little something about Lacey, doesn't it? Apparently Kevin was never replaced. He's just gone and she hasn't got a new handler, so I guess Kevin is over. What was his character doing again, other than giving her the contact information for Realm? Otherwise, he was just there to be an arbitrary obstacle that they could just get around anyway. This is such a weird detail. They go to the wellness center, her and Lacey, and they see, like, you know, there's other returners there, and she sees a bunch of guys. They're all dressed in preppy clothes. I glance down at myself and see that we match. It's like the uniform of the returners. Nothing says evil overlord in a dystopian future like preppy clothes. So Liam comes in, and our main character follows him out to the back porch, and when he turns to her, she can see that he has dark circles under his eyes, and she's like, oh no, he's caught the depression. What do I do? He's dangerous. Apparently he's just completely lost it, because now he's, like, attacking her. How has no one else noticed that he's obviously been infected? She's like, he's clearly infected, and he's going to infect others, but, like, how is she the only one? He literally came into a place that's swimming in the men in their white coats, and no one except for her has noticed that he's clearly infected with depression. Oh no, it's too late. He's already taken the quick death, which should actually be called the speed that you need for the most narrative punch death. So this boy who has been infected with depression has taken this very common poison, apparently, and come to the place where the men in their white coats are, and no one has noticed except for our main character. Apparently, quick death is a really unpleasant way to die, because now Liam is, like, spitting up death on the patio, and it's like, I feel like maybe there are poisons that can take you less aggressively. Why is this one the poison of choice? But Liam, before he dies horribly drowning in his own blood, is like, my 21-year-old cousin committed suicide. That means the depression virus is mutating. We're all screwed. Is that going to be, like, the plot of upcoming ones? Not any of the other questions we have about this world or how it works, but just that the virus is affecting more people? So Liam dies horrifyingly in front of her, and she runs off to the parking lot. The main character is mildly concerned that she has been infected again. I don't know, like, how concerned. She doesn't bring it up until the very end of this chapter as, like, a little teaser. Like, oh gosh, I hope me and Lacey aren't infected. Then we'll just go on to chapter 11. She goes to James's house because Jamesy Wamesy is the only one who can understand her. Probably because her parents were never given personalities, aside from her mom being, like, the strict one and her dad being, like, the soft one. That's it. End of. Apparently her dad, we're supposed to get that her dad is, like, an alcoholic and he's turning to drink or whatever, but all we really got is he smelled a bit like alcohol when she talked to him. Like, adults drink sometimes without being alcoholics. Our main character has been getting headaches that have been mild, and then they've been increasing, and now she's got a really bad one, and I'm sure that, like, a memory's about to unlock. She's freaking out because, you know, horrible brain pain, so she drives to Realm's house somehow. I'm assuming hospitals in this world are also evil, because otherwise she would go to, you know, one of those. She's kissing Realm again. This girl just cannot decide between these two boys and her love triangle. Also, I know that when I have a terrible, scary headache that, like, I can't explain, the first thing I want to do, make out. So they're about to have sex when Realm realizes that she's not into it. She's just going through the motions. And he's like, you still love him, don't you? And she's like, oh, I don't know who him is, because she's real dense. But apparently, I used to have a boyfriend.
Sugar jugs, I'm so bereft. Demeaning terms are all that I have left of my masculinity. So settle for me.
She figures out that it's James, and Realm says, you may not remember him, but your heart does. Sure, that's how science works. So Realm finally explains, after this whole sequence of them, like, almost having sex and then talking about James, then he's like, oh, by the way, your headache. The thing that she was very upset about before we started getting makey-outy. He's like, it's because you had a memory, and so your brain is repairing itself now. He doesn't think that she's gonna get more necessarily, but she had one, and that's why she got the brain freeze. I don't care about any of these people. Realm is a little bit freaked out to find out that she doesn't have a handler anymore, but then he dismisses it like, well, maybe you're just too healthy. She finally leaves Realm at like 3 a.m. and as she's leaving, of course, she gets a text from James, because this book has just completely doubled down on the love triangle, and that's all it wants to do now. She's decided that James is toxic for some reason. Like, she's like, I don't want him in my life, I don't want to read his texts, I'm completely cutting him out. Because she's like, I like Realm, but I don't love Realm. James is the one for me after all. But then she's like, no, never mind. Like, I just wish this girl would get over both of these boys and move on with her life. But James meets her at her locker, and he's like, come on, we're ditching this place, you and me. So she goes with him after all. It's very Aladdin, get on my magic carpet kind of scenario, even though, like, a page ago, she's like, I hate him, I'm never speaking to him again. Now she's like, yeah, but when he's all cute like this, I can't resist him. Teenagers. Ugh, how many more chapters in this fucking book? Okay, so there's only like 3 more chapters, and then there's an epilogue. Boy, oh boy. We're not going to resolve anything except for maybe the love triangle. Everything else, wide open. This world makes no fucking sense and never will. This book is so bad it makes me angry. This was published by professionals. Trees were killed to make this thing. So mad. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and... Oh hey, I've been working out my muscles because I have got a lot of patrons to read, and it's gonna take me all my energy. Let's go. We've got Steve, Puppet Master, Rainfall, Kit, Hidden Glade, Persephone, Light Julie, OS, Anna, Belle, Patrick, Anne Sophie, Callison, Ray, Artemis, Shelby, Zaire, Jesper, Irene, Scribbling Cat, Savvy, Jenny, Amanda, Lisa, Sarah, and Lennox. Whew! That was a workout, but I made it through. And you can bet that you have never heard of a better group of patrons in your entire life. You haven't. You just haven't. It's impossible.
Seem to remember there being a little controversy around his death.
That's right. The police said it was an accident. He'd come home late one night and fell down an elevator shaft onto some bullets.
You know, I've always suspected a bit of foul play.
As have I.